Oh God.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back. Anita, Ash, Chrome, Egypt,
Taylor,
Ginger,
Bruno, Chanel,
Miss
AB,
Rose,
Sarah, Bella, Jet,
Chris. Look at all these
Sammy,
people. Sammy, beautiful. Channel,
Ginger. I have to
Bruno.
scream it.
Bruno, that's the best.
Exclamation marks.
Sarah Steinberg, always AB, lovely AB. Idioma, Alexandria, Savannah, Gia. Look at all these people. Excellent. Macrao, Margot, Katsiuska. Oh, it's terrible. I'm so sorry. All right.
Sarah was in the woods and didn't get her homework on time. Is there a good place to put it for shamefaced lateness? Oh, just put it in the regular. It's fine. Just put it in the regular. I didn't do a separate shamefaced folder for the late submissions because this is different.
Good note for the future. Yeah, that we can have like the
shamefaced folder.
Exactly. Just have like the nun lady from Game of Thrones ringing her little bell. And
no, I don't like that lady.
I'll forget everything I just said. Nothing like that is happening ever.
Larissa, will you make me co-host, please?
Yes.
Because I left and then came back.
Okay.
Good job, everybody, for submitting lots and lots and lots of words. I opened up the Google Drive and I was like, oh, I forgot today was Word Day.
Today's Word Day.
Yeah, so we have reading to do instead of just pictures to look at. So we might be a little late getting you your feedback, but we will get you their feedback. Okay.
Yes.
Don't worry, Margot. Don't worry, everybody. It's okay. The trick is to get it done. Anyway, Larissa, would you like to?
I'll start us off. Okay, so Caleb's got a great plan for us today. We're going to be doing some breakout rooms, so you guys are going to get to go and meet your fellow students and talk to one another, get to know each other and your stories. And we'll be doing that after Caleb gives y'all some really fantastic examples of thumbnails and how to talk about panels, looking at panels, and all kinds of good stuff. But I had something that I just kind of wanted to share with everyone because I thought that this would be a receptive place to share that news. So this course, this Graphic Novels 101 course, this started just as a weird thing because a friend of mine who was a former student of mine at Laguna College of Art and Design was working at Cartoon Network and asked for me to create a class for, excuse me, the employees at Cartoon Network, just as an enrichment course, kind of a fun thing. So that's how this course came about. And then the weird thing is that, you put it on the Google, you put it on the internets and people find out that you do this, and then people are asking for this kind of thing. So I was approached by a event planning company in Los Angeles to offer this type of course, or like just in a 1 hour session for a company that they were planning this big virtual event for. And they said it was some tech company. I had no idea what. So I thought, well, this is great. I'm excited. I can take this class and kind of like just break it down into 1 hour, which is going to be crazy. But I did it for this tech company. And I'm going to be doing that in a couple of weeks. And I didn't know what tech company it was. They never told me. So this is my news. I found out what tech company it is.
But it rhymes with?
It rhymes with Woogle.
I knew it.
Oh, Woogle. Nice, though. That's awesome, Larissa. This is the first time Caleb and I are hearing this, too.
Yeah, this is...
So this was me when I found out the news.
Sounds about right.
Starting to freak out.
No pressure.
A little bit, no pressure. Yeah, thanks. Kind of pog a little bit. So, yeah, I'm still hyperventilating from it, but it's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine.
I got this, right, Taylor? It'll be okay. So,
Raven's got you. Raven got your back.
Yeah. So, it'll be fun. I'm going to teach Google Tech people how to draw comics in an hour, and then we'll see how it goes. See what they do with it.
Perfect.
So that's exciting, and I'm
Lots
excited
of
to
note cards.
see what everyone is going to do today. We're gonna get started. Caleb's got a fantastic day planned for you, and then we're gonna break out into rooms, and then we're gonna hop in and see how you guys are doing. Okay. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
teaching tech nerds how to be art nerds. I don't know how that's gonna work, but we'll see. Okay,
It-
Caleb.
Trust me, you guys are going to be great. You are, particularly Larissa, are going to be great, and everybody in this room. We'll if there are any like stragglers in your Google thing, anybody named anybody whose name rhymes with Beth Bezos or anything like that, we can just we'll teach them how to do comics, no problem. Welcome back, everybody, to Comicsdom. Last week, we went over the very, very simple process of just putting down your ideas on some note cards. Okay, the idea was trying to do 1 page of beats per card. And typically, I like to use the average of about 4 or 5, maybe 6 at the most, beats per card. The idea is to try and keep it simple, so that we have a good process, that every card has like a solid beginning, that we have that sort of Kisho Tenketsu sort of form to each one. Each one starts with, building on what came in the card beforehand, and ending on, ooh, maybe there's a reveal, or maybe there's a cliffhanger. Especially when it comes to typical page turning comics, but we'll get into more of that today. And all I really wanted for you guys to do was maybe 4 or 5 of these little cards. And there's a $1 million Jeff Bezos fee. Yes, we will all split it and buy a car. And I feel like the from what I've seen so far, you guys kind of get it, which is great, because the trick was to try and keep this relatively simple and not to be precious about it. One of the first things I did after last week's class was I had a hard look at the cards that I was making, and I realized they were garbage. So I tossed them, and I made some new ones that I felt a little bit better, because one of the curses of being a creative person is that once you've done something, you've learned from it, and you realize, I could do that better. And so that's the whole idea behind this, is that all you're doing is just putting down ideas in cards, and you can flip them, you can shuffle them. It is whatever makes sense to you, whatever makes it clear, whatever makes something happy, makes you happy with your end product. Anyway, so
Can I jump in?
Please do.
Just that iterations are such an important part of the creative process, and a lot of times you don't even want to just start, and which is what we're doing today. We're just going to jump into it and do it, because there's this overriding fear of it not being good enough or it not being perfect, and it's never going to be perfect the first time. And just get over it, get over yourself, and just do it. And know that once you've gotten started on whatever it is, these beat boards, your thumbnail designs, your panels, whatever, just that's your start. That's where you start to build iterations, and you can't build iterations and you can't make it better until you give yourself something to work with.
That's so true. I don't think I could put it any better than that. Perfectionism is an illusion anyway. What I tend to find when it comes to people who, especially students that view themselves as perfectionists, what they want to do is get it right the first time. And that rarely ever happens. Typically what they want to do is avoid that iteration process. Perfectionism will only ever hold you back. Thank you, Eden. From being a better artist, precisely. It prevents you from learning. It prevents you from that iterative process. Never fall in love with your first draft. Okay, try and do it again. The whole trick is to do something fast and easy, so that you can look at that and go, oh, well, what if I did this instead? Because that's how the creative process works. It's very rarely a eureka moment. I did it right. It's more like a, well, that's weird moment instead. So just try, we're going to do the exact same thing today. But first, a lecture. I'm going to try and keep this as fun and as simple as possible. Um, Thank you, Eden. Yes, I know you are all big fans of my lectures, so I'm going to make sure that this one is extra long and arduous.
Yay.
That's why I'm here. And yeah, so that's why I'm here, is for the pain and the puns.
Just make sure we're all good on the time is all.
I think we're going to be okay. Egypt approves. Good. I see thumbs up. This is fantastic.
This is how the knowledge gets passed on from one mind to another.
Yeah, the slow drip of agonizing lectures. Okay, so let's start with, okay, so today's thing is all about transferring this into some sort of visual medium. And the first thing we need to do is figure out what you want your thumbnails to look like. All right, so I have created a handy dandy little printable sheet, if you want to use it, of little one-page thumbnail cards that you can, 4 to a page, then you can cut them out. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. You can do it digitally if you like. But the trick is to just try and make it simple and easy. And I typically like to have my hand on something when I'm drawing, because drawing something tactile for me means I can mess it up. I can make it messy. When I tend to do work digitally, I try to get precious about it. I zoom in. And with this, there's no undo. You can just do it right or try again. That's totally fine.
Can I pipe in on that too?
Do it, please.
Yes. Okay, so I worked on my thumbnails digitally, and the way that I avoided, I may have mentioned this before, but the way I avoided getting super small was I set the pixels at a really low rate, so I didn't make
nice
it 300 DPI. Yeah, I kept it crunchy. I kept it like at, 8. I kept it like at 5x7 with like 100 pixels per inch. So you can't get detail because you're just drawing like with a stick of butter if you do. So that's another thing you do.
That's perfect. Okay,
Like
so don't draw with this on a stick of butter, but you can draw on it with a nice chunky pencil and not worry about it too much. But the idea today is we're going to try and chop up our cards into panels. Now, panels are those really fun, wonderful little rectangles and squares that go into a typical comic page or manga page, whichever. Let me show you guys some examples. And I'm going to show you guys examples from a variety of different artists using a variety of different media. Some are traditional, some are digital, and some are a mix. Also, side note, Eden is here. Yeah, don't worry about Eden.
I have a bunch right here. This is just from, like, this is actually like I wouldn't use this necessarily, but this is what Google's going to be doing on of course they sent everybody this gigantic blank thing that I don't know how they're going to fill it in an hour, but whatever. But yeah, kind of like this.
Is that one of those from like a bookstore? Do you get
it's Crisp from the Crisp shop. Crisp, add your own cover art, blank comic book storyboard notebook. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't use this because the panels, I have to arrange the panels. I want to be able to arrange the panels, but this is what they're doing.
But actually, that's not a bad example of what we're going to start with today.
Really?
If you look at, well, if you look at Larissa's pages there, you can see that every single page is a variation of a 9x9 or a 3x3 grid. And there are lots of comics, one of the most famous ones ever, Watchmen, which was done exactly that way, a 3x3 grid, every single page.
Mhm.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start off with the simple stuff.
Good.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, one second. View. And there we go. Okay, so design and comics. This is Erica Moen's semi-autobiographical comic from, 15 years ago. Erica Moen has gone on to do a lot of different things, a lot of different publishing, but this was their first attempt at doing a comic. As you can tell, it's 2x3, really simple, no ruled lines or anything. It's very, very simple. And the idea behind this was to make it easy and fast so that Erica could put down ideas very, very quickly. It's more like a visual diary. And lots of people do this. There are a lot of comics are these autobio diary comics. And they're really quite lovely, but the reason why they're done this way is mainly for speed and economy. We'll revisit those ideas a little bit later on. Okay, so that's DAR. You can do it this way if you want. Oops, a little chunky. This is Shannon Garrity's really famous comic. Again, it's very old. This is from the aughts, called Narbonic. As you can see here, there isn't really a grid per se. It's just 4 rows. And each row is sort of chopped up depending on how much dialogue Shannon was able to sort of squeeze into it. Dialogue's kind of hard to read, but that was their whole point behind the comic. Everything was done on, again, as you can sort of tell, like on an what is it, A4 piece of paper or like letter size, and colored with colored pencil. But the idea is here, again, they just had, the economy behind this is that you had 4 panels, or sorry, 4 rows, and you just chopped them up depending on how much dialogue was in them. It's a very chatty sort of slice of life type of comic. All right, now we start getting into the real works of art in terms of comics. This is Blacksad, which is probably one of the most beautiful comics ever to be made in the 20th century and the 21st century. It's Juan Diaz Canales and Juan Juanido, French writer, Spanish artist, and I believe the artist was they were the key artist on Scar for The Lion King, and then they got into comics. And you can see that the whole comic is just this beautiful, everything is like a piece of animation. Everything is watercolor. They do tremendous amount of work behind each one, doing color roughs, reworking everything. There are you can see here that there are 4 rows, but each one is really beautifully broken up into no less than, my God, 11 different panels. That's a lot. But
11 panels is a lot. That is a lot.
It's a lot. But at the same time, you can also tell that a lot of, there's hardly any economy to this at all. There's so much work that went into this. Doing one of these pages probably took them around 3 or 4 weeks, which is why these books come out like every 4 years or something like that.
Good God.
No, it's no joke. I mean, this is sort of the way that a lot of European comic artists do this. They tend to labor this. It's especially guys like these two who, they do it because they love it. Because it's not something, they don't have a deadline. They self-publish for the most part.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I just pipe in here and say, y'all don't do this to yourself, just like what Eden's saying, do not do this to yourself. Publishing worlds have deadlines, and unless you're like making your own webcomic and you just want to do it as, and take 10 years to do it, then yeah, that's beautiful. Do it. I can't. I have to be doing like a page a day. So anyway, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is gorgeous, but this is a very sort of, these are guys who don't necessarily, this isn't their living. They do it because they love it. But nevertheless, there is some just gorgeous stuff that comes out of Blacksad. As you can see, it's in French. If you tend to find them in America or elsewhere, you'll most likely find them like a translation of the French comic. The comics also tend to be these really big, beautiful hardcover books. If you find them elsewhere, they tend to be sort of collected in graphic novel form. But they're meant to be kind of episodic. Each one is about 20 to 40 pages long. And but anyway, they tend to be gathered like this. But as you can see, it's just so labored over and so beautiful. It's worth it if you haven't seen it. I think you can find lots of examples of these online. All right, here's another one of my faves. This is a sci-fi comic, again, from about 10 years ago called the Resonator. Almost every single panel, instead of having rows, they have columns. And this is just, again, a sort of a motif that the writer and artist, they're the same person, wanted to create onto themselves. The idea behind the Resonator is that it takes place hundreds of years in the future, and sleep has sort of been removed from our daily habits. People don't need to sleep anymore. And unless they have this thing called a resonator that's placed inside them. And and there's this fantastic moment in the story where somebody yawns, and the person that's interrogating them, because they want to know where they found this resonator, doesn't know what they're looking at first, and it alarms them. It's this beautiful, beautiful moment, because they're like, oh my God, that's what it is to be tired. It's a fantastic, very simple sci-fi comic, and it's all done in columns like this. We'll break this down a little bit later. This is, again, another way of doing it if you want. Watchmen. I mentioned this at the very, very beginning with Larissa's 3x3 panel grid. Every single page of Watchmen, and it's a 300-page book, is done exactly like this. There'll be they're incredibly measured out by Dave Gibbons, the artist. And sometimes they're turned into horizontal, sort of like establishing shots, like the one at the bottom, or they are sort of grouped together, or sometimes cut in half, but the grid's always there. And again, done for economy, because he had 300 pages to do. This he was being paid by the page. This is one of those things where, as an artist, you tend to get hired in order to do this sort of thing. And if you do a great job, then you get rehired, especially if the artist or if the writer is well known. And it worked out beautifully. It's a real work of art. Really, really simple, I know, but it's Watchmen. Come on, guys, it's famous. All right, this is Brian Talbot this is from one page of The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. And as you can sort of tell, it's all just rows. And this is Neil Gaiman. He loves chewing his little dialogue muscles. Lots and lots of things in here, but that's the whole point behind dialogue like this. You've got this one establishing shot with lots of detail. The detail is there to slow you down. And then once we get into dialogue shots, we get sort of zoomed in, everything starts turning into talking heads. Again, we remain slow until the very end, and then things turn into like single sentences. But it's a really, really good way of establishing that strategy behind your panel layouts, your thumbnails. How much detail is going to be in there. The more detail, visual detail especially, that you put into your panels, the slower people tend to read, or the more time people spend on each panel, because they want to sort of like make their way around and see all the different little secrets and the little
Easter eggs.
Easter eggs, thank you, that you dropped into the panel. Thank you, Larissa.
Can I say something
Do it.
about that? Just talking heads. Whenever you have dialogue heavy pages between two characters, you definitely want to vary the panels and how you're illustrating this conversation. And the way that it's done here is really nice, where we start off with this establishing shot. We see where the characters are, and then we see the first character and the second character, and we zoom in on that second character even more. Then we see the two characters together, and then we see a long shot of them instead of a extreme long shot. So anytime you have dialogue heavy, you've got to make sure that you're varying your panels, you're varying your perspectives, and you're making it more interesting. That's something that my art director has been telling me to do.
That's exceptionally good advice. So if you start with something that has a lot of detail, try and make the following panels shy on detail, so that you can either pick up the pace, or at the very least the focus changes. Because if every single one is just chocolate block full of detail, then the pace of reading doesn't change at all. And it can actually, sometimes less is more. Sometimes you want them to skip over stuff. Sometimes you want to pick up the pace so that, especially if there's like a chase scene or something like that, you want to be able to make the pace through which people are reading more dynamic. But again, that's kind of up to you.
Caleb?
One of the things that, yes, please.
Sorry, that Ash has a question that I kind of want to address. Ash said, I've heard probably in another video or class I watched that it's not recommended to change the camera angle 180 degrees between panels. Do you all think that's true? And I wanted to get what your take was on that. And then I wanted to talk about that too.
That is a really, really great piece of advice. That's known as the line of action. When you have, like, for example, you've got two characters, okay? You've got Caesar, who's here in disguise, and this dwarf who's sitting right next to him, also in disguise. And if you notice, the camera never goes behind them, right? We start in front of them, that we can dimly see them sitting on the step. You know, we look at the dwarf, who's an actor. We look at Caesar. We look at Caesar. We look at the dwarf. Okay, and the camera is always in front of them, even if it is sort of switching in between the two. That's called staying on this line of action. Okay, we have not hopped over behind them and start filming them from the back or drawing them from behind. That would be called breaking the line of action or breaking the 180-degree rule, as Ash has just mentioned. Doing that tends to sort of like kerfuffle people. It makes makes people a little. It can confuse your reader, basically, unless you want them to be confused. There's one of the best examples of breaking the 180-degree rule is in the film The Shining. It's in the bathroom. John Nicholson is talking to this ghost of this horrible murderous butler. Spoilers. And the entire room has like a white lower half and a red upper half. And then, without warning, Stanley Kubrick switches and puts the camera right behind them, so that it makes it seem as though, whoa, what just happened? It makes us it kind of juggles the point of view so that we feel a little disoriented. Thank you very much, Melissa. That's the word I was trying to find. You get a gold star. But that's exactly right. It's the whole point is to try and disorient the audience. If you do it without meaning to, it's not great. Anyway, so to just to sort of sum up. Oh, we didn't talk about Scott McCloud. Man, we don't really need to. That's okay. So here we are. We've got Dar up at the top there, right? 2x3 grid, super duper easy. Sometimes they divide one, that's it. Blacksad, just all over the place. The grid hardly matches page by page at all, but that's because tons and hours of care are put into each the layout of each one. We aren't going to do that. All right, it would that way madness lies. So we're going to avoid. The resonator, lots of vertical panels. Occasionally, if there's a horizontal one, it tends to be because there needs to be some sort of subject break. Narbonic, as we just found, there's lots of horizontal rows instead. So we've got sort of columns and then rows. Oh, and that's about it. But the idea behind this, as you can see, is right now we're just need to think about how you want to translate your cards onto the page. And of course, I haven't really mentioned the thing that makes all this magical is not necessarily the art here. The reason why comics are so amazing is because of the time, the meter that goes into it. Like I mentioned before, that there's like a strategy. You can have your audience pick up the pace when it comes to reading or slow them down. And the reason why they know that is because of these little lines in between.
The
These are called
gutters.
gutters. Gutters. Gutters is how time passes in a comic. Gutters can, if you're reading Black Sad, sometimes gutters can be narrower. Sometimes gutters can be thinner. I know some people get really detail oriented when it comes to gutters. Don't worry about that. The only thing you need to make sure is that that's how, if you have if you've written down in one of your cards that a character catches a football and then throws it, you might need 2 panels for that. Okay, just remember that.
You
So
can
you
never
might need
have
to
2
split that
actions in one panel. Never.
You can, but not without like
Oh,
some sort of blur or a multiple.
Right.
You know, you have to
Right.
where they catch it over here and then they turn and throw it over here. But you might take the chance that you could confuse your audience. When I was a kid, and I saw there was like these beautiful long panels of Spider-Man like swinging across from building to building, rooftop to rooftop, and I'm like, and there would be like 10 Spider-Men in one
Yeah.
panel, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how many are there?
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand
Confusing.
what that was.
Yeah.
It could be, but just remember, try to keep it simple, you know, for your audience. Try to keep it as, you know, if you want to put some style into it, that's great. But just remember who your audience is meant to be.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. I said never. That obviously the rule is not never because you can. And I did that in my own graphic novel. I have my character in 3 different places with like whoosh marks in between to show the passing of like the
They're
moment
like,
within
they're like
that.
searching for something. Is it in here? No. Is it in here? No.
Yeah.
I totally get you.
Yeah, you can do that, but you've got to be mindful of if it's like 2 separate actions that need to be explained or a little bit more clear, then you can probably put those in 2. You probably want to put those in 2 separate panels.
Now, since we mentioned gutters, I'm going to switch this back here. There are really, really good ways to to align gutters with your panels, and there are some ways that you can actually unintentionally confuse your audience. One of the best sort of motifs or styles for doing gutters and aligning the edges or the corners of your panels with them can be found in manga or Japanese comics. So I'm going to grab this real quick. And by following their kind of panel conventions, let me show you what I mean. Now, almost all the panels that we've seen so far are just rectangular, or at the very least square. And that's totally fine. That's a very, very simple way to do it. Sometimes people like to mess it up a little bit. They like to have some that are like cut at a diagonal. And that's great, so long as you still make it clear that you're meant to go from this panel to this, from one to the next. There are ways that you can unintentionally confuse people. Let me show you some examples here. There we go. Okay, so these are known as Kirby layouts. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, basically, they were a 2-man team for the better part of 10 years. Whoops. When it came to creating Marvel Comics. Stan Lee would summarize an entire 22 issue comic onto 1 page. And it was up to Kirby to very, very quickly translate all those words into pictures. In other words, it had to be fast. And he was fast. As you can see, though, almost all of his, with like 1 or 2, maybe 3 exceptions, almost all of his layouts had the corners of the gutters in these T intersections, or sorry, cross intersection, like this. But still, he was still able to sort of make it very simple and very easy to figure out how you are meant to, okay, it keeps flipping like that, to go from to basically figure out which panel you were meant to read next. This is Nemo in Slumberland by Winsor McKay. Pretty much the same thing. You're able to sort of determine just by the layout which panel was meant to come next. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is meant to be read from left to right, of course. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And Winsor McCay, this was a whole page in a newspaper, right? Even so, he still didn't trust the reader quite enough. If you zoom in on this, you can see that he actually did put numbers in some of these. 5, 6, 7, because a lot of times he did these tricky sort of jumps between panels. And as you can tell here, Nemo's looking down. That's a big cue for us to say, oh, okay, so I'm meant to go from here to here. Everything about this is a very vertical little panel, but he numbered them so that we don't get lost. I'm not suggesting that you do that. I'm suggesting there are better ways to do that. Also, he tended to, as you can see, make chunkier gutters, so we don't make that jump. Or if we do, then it sort of feels odd, like we're bending the rules. These ones are narrower, suggesting that they actually sort of like fit together. Anyway, so let's look at the way that a manga would handle those shifting or staggered panel arrangements, kind of like what Larissa mentioned just a minute ago. Now here again, we're meant to be reading from right to left. So it would basically start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, right? And the way that you're not supposed to jump from 1 to, say, 3 is because of this fun little jagged intersection right here. Can you guys see my cursor? Okay. A lot of times, American comics don't have that. If we do tend to stagger our panels, we tend to sort of line them up in a grid, kind of like what Dave Gibbons does in Watchmen. And so if the right to left if the left to right pattern of reading is ever interrupted, then it's kind of on the artist to sort of help us out. Because again, we tend to read aligned panels first. Okay, here are some vertically aligned panels: 1, 2, then 3, 4. See this little break right here? We tend to align these two alongside each other first, and then we make the jump to 5 and 6. Exactly the same as what happened here, just vertical. Here's an example of what not to do. Here's an American comic from the 60s. The reason being here is because the artist made a goof. He threw this sort of little staggered line here, almost arbitrarily. Following the motif that we just were looking at, it would be, we would read it like this, going from left to right: 1, 2, 3. And since these are sort of aligned, you might be thinking, well, do I jump down here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But the answer is no. They intended it to just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So remember that staggering them like this is a really good way to sort of figure out the order in which panels are read. And you can absolutely have that under your control. But remember, people tend to read panels that are sort of aligned together like this. And staggering the panel sizes is a good way to sort of group them, but do it intentionally. Yeah, don't make the reader guess where to look, basically. Make it clear. And one of the best ways to examine this is with manga. Even though this does not fit to any grid like at all, I think, you can still figure out exactly where you need to go by following those T intersections. following the panels that are aligned. So we just start here, for example, like if we, this would be 1, 2, then 3, this gorgeous vertical panel, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we start again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Still a lot of panels, but it works really, really cleanly. Does that make sense to you guys? Anybody have any questions? Throw up your hand if you have any. This was created by one of the founding fathers of modern manga. Eden, do you happen to know who? That's
Yeah.
it?
Osamu Tezuka.
Ginger.
I was like looking up how
That's
to
it.
spell his name correctly because I always spelled the last name wrong. But he is really
Osamu
great,
Tezuka.
super duper prolific. I mean, the man has so much manga out there. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And you know, fairly simple style. I think that he is really good at comic economy in like his drawings. But
You're absolutely 100% right. Taylor has a really good question. How do digital websites like Tapas or Webtoon affect overall panel placement? Well, for the most part, it depends on the device you're reading it on. Webtoon and Tapas, they both have, they're both vertical, correct? They're both vertical scrolling. Those are known as infinite comics. Because technically, you could have like one episode of, Lore Olympus be like, I don't know what what the equivalent would be of like, 5 or 6 feet long, right? As long as your finger doesn't get tired of scrolling, you can just keep reading. Lore Olympus is some good stuff. But that's typically a design just for digital comics. It doesn't really work for and sometimes it works better for digital comics that way than it would for taking that comic and then putting it into print. I know a lot of people that aren't really that happy with the way that Lore Olympus, because it eventually got put into print so that people could buy the books, that it actually works better as a webcomic than it does as a physical book. There's another amazing comic, and I mention it every single time. I'm going to stop sharing this real quick. Let me see if I can jump here. There is a artist by the name of Emily Carroll, who has created a horror comic called His Face All Red. Yeah, exactly. Homestuck. That's another example. I think somebody actually took the time to actually try to summarize Homestuck so that it actually would read better in print. Yeah, Emily Carroll, amazing artist. His Face All Red here was turned into a part of a horror anthology that Emily Carroll did, but it works better as a webcomic. And the reason why, for the most part, is because as you scroll, it's as you can tell, it's just beautiful. It's actually very simple. It's kind of abstract. This technically would be considered an infinite comic because it doesn't stick to any, print format. I killed my brother, right? And then we have like this fun little aside. We got some backstory. And then we have next, where you can click on this little thing and get the next page or next episode. It's entirely up to you when to click that, right? And that's one of the reasons why this works so well as a web comic rather than a print comic, because it doesn't fit to any format, and it's entirely up to you to figure out when you want to turn that page. And as the story continues, it gets more and more scary. So at the very end, when you might not want to click that next, it's that page turn thing again. Every page is a page turn. Precisely, Jeff. Ava's Demon, very simple. Very similar, actually. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think Ava's Demon works better because they did intend it for print. Lots of webcomics are like that. Nimona was eventually intended for print. This works uniquely as a webcomic better than it would in print. And there are a lot of webcomics that do that. Like I said, Lore Olympus, I think, works better as a webcomic than a print one. We'll wait and see how it does as a cartoon. Yeah, it's going to be a cartoon. It's going to be animated. It is beautiful, but it sort of depends on how well it sort of flips. You know, does it translate? Anywho, so that's where we are right now. I'm going to stop there. Now it's about 2:45 right now. What I wanted you guys
can I jump in real quick?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no,
Thank
it's
you,
just about the page count and webcomics and just the numbers of pages and stuff. Yeah, when you're doing a webcomic, you've got infinite scroll. You can make it as long as you want. You don't have to worry about like printing costs or whatever. When you're publishing a comic with a publisher, they're gonna want to know how many pages it is because it's gonna cost to print it. So when you're planning out your thumbnails and your panels and you're drawing an action out over several pages, and it makes your story that much longer, meaning it makes your page count that much longer, that's a concern. That's a concern that my publisher had. We had this comic that was really, really long because I wanted to draw out the action and add extra panels. And that was part of our editing process. That was really hard for us to get it down from, 265 pages. They wanted it to be even less than 240. We managed to get it to 240. And even when we got it to 240, I had some pages that were 9 panels, 10 panels. And because it's a middle grade graphic novel, they wanted that panel count down. They wanted it to be between, like 5 and 8 panels top. So I have some pages that had like 10 panels. Nope, I had to get rid of action. I had to get rid of things. So just that's something to be mindful of if you're working on a webcomic. Yeah, you've got infinite panels that you can do. You can draw things out forever if you want to, because you've got infinite space. But if you're planning a actual print comic, just be mindful that if you take 10 pages to draw out one scene, that's taking up your page count. That's all.
Brigida asked a good question. Is there which hopefully I said that right, is there a minimum page length for a graphic novel? I would say no, but you would know more about proper publishing, Larissa.
Yeah, it's usually about 160 for like a small one. That's the minimum. And it's usually like in multiples of like 8 or something for the paper. But so we're at 240, roughly around there.
Which would you say that it also depends on your publisher? Because
Yep.
I know like indie publishers,
Yep.
like for instance, Silver Sprocket will produce more almost like zine-like ones that are a little bit shorter and more almost like issues, like those paperback issues versus like a proper like thick graphic novel.
Yeah, it does. It depends on a lot of things. If you're working with a publisher, they're gonna, first of all, it depends on the age group that you're shooting for. If you're going for a younger reader, they're probably going to be smaller like pocket size, and it depends on the final result. If you're doing a younger reader graphic novel and it's going to be black and white, then you can probably do a heck of a lot more because the printing is going to be lower. But the cost of the printing is going to be lower. And if you're going to be doing something like our book, which is more of like near comparable to Amulet, where it's full color, then the printing cost goes up. So, but then there's things like Lily Williams' Go with the Flow, which is I don't know, it's almost like 300 pages and it's monochrome. Jarek Krzaska's Hey Kiddo, that's huge, and that's got a monochromatic color. So if you're going with black and white, blankets, I think it's, I don't know if it's black and white or monochromatic. The more things you do, like with color, the more expensive the cost is, and the shorter it might have to be. If you're doing black and white, you can probably make it longer, just in terms of the cost. In terms of what publishers care about, that's all I'm just trying to let you guys know about.
I am muted. That makes perfect sense, though. I feel like few people would be willing to drop, $30 on a 500-page issue of Dogman, because no kid's going to be like, oh man, this is going past my bedtime. This is that's an epic Dogman. Most Dogmans are like 75 pages, and they're like this big. They
Yeah,
can easily
they're like
fit into
pocket
some
size.
kid's backpack. Exactly. Whereas Amulets, a bit bigger, a bit thicker, a lot more. Why fancy hardcover editions come out later? Exactly. I'd read 500 Dogmans. Ginger, yeah, I had a feeling you would read 500-page Dogmans. But that's Ginger, okay? Ginger's a mutant. We don't need to read 500-page Dogmans. Unless Marie would be like into 500.
Wait, isn't Ginger the one that also said that they put out like 500 pages of?
They would. They, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, Ginger, okay, there's your project there, Ginger. You have to do a 500-page Dogman. Ginger's like, done. Egypt, you have to edit it. So there you go. I just made Egypt's life hell for the next 6 months. I have a 2-chapter mental limit. Be like Sarah. Have a 2-chapter mental limit. That's actually not a bad way to go. Keep it simple. Anyway, so before we break you guys up into breakout rooms, what I'd kind of like to get to show you is what I'd like you guys to discuss. Let me show you. So I showed you a bunch of finished pages. Okay, we're gonna take a sort of a step towards that today. So what I want you guys to do is, oops, that's okay. Is start with, let me share my screen here real quick. Is this not working very well? Oh, here we go. Oh, wait. Sorry, I'm trying to share my fancy schmancy. Oh, did I close it? I did. Oh, my dingus, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to share my iPad with you guys, and I
is that what you were
failed
doing?
horribly. Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I was doing. Thanks a bunch.
That's okay.
I knew it. Let me get, I'm sorry, the sass is heavy with me today. I don't mean to, I'm not sure exactly why.
You got an extra helping of sass this morning for
I
breakfast,
had
huh?
some, in my,
Caleb is making up for the fact that I am at minimum SAS level.
you are, yeah, your sass level is like below 9%.
I know.
And
You're
I
running
feel like
low on it today.
I'm running low
I'm
on-
seriously, I just have,
After
I'm
all these
bringing the
years.
extra sass, and I'm really sorry to all the students that are in class today as a result of that. So sorry, hold on. I'm trying. Oh, here we go. Streaming video. Where did it go? Lol, sass is mandatory. Sassatory.
The combining of words in this class. Is that how puns are made?
That's
It's
just the.
ugh.
It's the way it works.
My brain doesn't work that way.
Well,
So I'm always in awe.
well, I disagree. I think your brain is a perfectly good sass engine.
I didn't say it wasn't a perfectly good brain. I just don't know
No,
if
I
it's a
didn't say
good
that at all.
sass engine. It's low.
I've
My
gotten
sass.
some sass. I've gotten sass. Anyway, why is this behaving like poopy? Bit of a strange happening. Yeah, I'm just not. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, Michael.
Michael, well done you.
Michael.
So proud of you.
We're all just
Michael
sitting
gets a
here.
C plus for the day. Well
We're all
done
just
you.
sitting here throwing sass and puns waiting for Caleb's iPad to work.
Look, I'm trying my best. It's sadness. All right, look, I'm just going. Well, doggone it. All the puns.
I'm glad you think so, Macro. This class is so
Oh my
punny.
God, Alexandria. I'm so proud of you. Where is it?
This does make me miss Alyssa Vandriff, who's
I was just gonna say.
yeah, she's around in the Discord. She's one of the students who's taken many classes with us, but she would always indulge Caleb too much and come up with her own. Oh, hello, Holly's kid. Hello.
Hi, Holly's kid who's flying
Holly's
in the
kid.
air.
I know, woohoo!
Oh, super kid.
Caleb's weakness is puns. Larissa and I's weakness are children and babies.
Oh God.
No, they're my kryptonite too. I have been known to drool over kids and stuff. I think we talked about oh doggone it. I think we talked about that last time where somebody was just like, I love the smell of a baby's head. And I'm just like, that's exactly how
That
I
was
feel
me.
as well.
That was me. I'm a head huffer.
We just went off on like huffing babies' heads for like 6 minutes.
I forgot
it was
about
tragic.
the head huffing. Oh my God.
And then someone did a drawing of me huffing heads. And then I showed it to my daughter.
I'm calling the cops. And we were like, fair.
I did not.
Is that the new drug? Yes.
Lauren Taylor, is this the new drug on the street?
Okay. I'm trying really hard. It's not working. Okay.
Or were you gonna draw?
I was gonna draw. And I had my little camera set up here and everything. But unfortunately it's giving me gas. Hold on, hold on. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna quit this. Okay. You did not expect Hera to say head huffing. Who does? Larissa is like the.
I mean, I could go on and on about head huffing, but I don't really want to go in that direction.
Fair enough. All right. I'll come back to this in just oh, for Pete's sake, of course. And it just now asked me if I wanted to allow it. All right.
Technology.
So, I hate it so much. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Graphic Novel 101. Thank you very much for your patience. I'm just this dingus who is trying desperately to show you guys a really fun way to do comics. Let me share this one last thing. So I want you, because the whole idea behind thumbnails is that they're meant to be simple. They're meant to be used by you to make things a little bit easier. But there's a right way and, well, I don't know, there isn't necessarily a wrong way, as long as they make sense to you. I'm going to show you guys a bunch of different artists that use thumbs in different ways. And I think we can make do with what I've got at the moment, instead of just jumping to my iPad to do it. Here we go.
Oh, I could be showing my thumbnails too. I didn't even think about that.
You absolutely could. Let me see.
Do you have stuff to share yet, or I can throw mine up?
I do.
Okay.
Okay. So here's what I wanted to show you. Thank you guys for being so patient. Okay. Thumbs to hold their pen. What? Oh my God, Ginger. Oh. Gee whiz. Okay.
Where is it, Caleb?
It's right here. Oh, just a second. Oh my gosh. I thumbnailed it. Oof. Sorry,
All right.
just one last sec. I promise I'm not this challenged normally. Thank you for being patient with me, guys. Okay.
Whew.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all right.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So this literally are the thumbs for a honest to goodness comic book. Now these are really, really rough, as you can tell here. Obviously, these guys are going like instead of doing individual panels, they're doing this by sequence. You can literally see here where somebody's doing like uh, you know they're doing like these 4-panel sequences. Some of them are dialogue heavy. Um, you know, they have one called lifeboat plans, tree sequence. Thumbs and script, bare thumb, things like that. Really, really simple. This is something if you're doing something, this is if you're doing a graphic novel, a huge, huge jump in level of detail because this is obviously like they're doing 208 pages here. Now, one of the things you should realize when you're doing pages like this um, is you need to start whenever you're doing a book format, something that's intended for print, the facing page or the what's I think it's known as the what is it, the inner cover or the well, it's almost always blank. This is always page 1, not this. This is Chris Somney. Oh, sorry, Declan Shelvey with a. It's a. These are his thumbnails. Declan Shelvey is a very sort of high contrast comic book artist, and it's, as you can see, it's pretty high detail. But nevertheless, they use this mainly not just for themselves, but also to communicate with other people, their writer, their colorist, everything that they intend for their comic. And so far, they've got 1, 2, 3, all the way down to page 14 for their comic. As you can see, there is some detail, quite a bit actually, but there are some panels that are actually just silhouettes. Right, and you can sort of see that instead of including dialogue, what they do is they put tiny little numbered balloons so that they know that to keep that when they're doing the actual final work, to keep those areas spare, to keep them not to involve a lot of detail there because it's going to get covered up. This is Jim Lee. These are his comics or his comic thumbnails. Again, super duper rough. Jim Lee tends to do, I mean, he's kind of a rock star again. He tends to do a lot of whatever he wants. He hasn't added a whole lot of space for his dialogue, but you can sort of still tell where it could end up going. A lot of his panels tend to be kind of heavy on either one side or the other, with detail and with positive or negative shapes. And you can sort of see just from his thumbnails where dialogue or captions will end up going. The one thing that is for all of these that are this is Mike Mignola. Sorry, this is Mike Mignola. Mike Mignola is never really about detail. What he is about is high contrast, shadows and light. This is Chris Somney. This is Daredevil and Batman. I'm not exactly sure if this was ever an honest to goodness comic, but it's pretty awesome. And you can sort of see again, it's mostly about like negative space versus positive space, light against dark. No faces, no details, no fingers, none of that.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. You could still see this. Yeah, Chris Samnee is so beautiful. A lot of these guys are really, really good. And then, of course, we get to Alan Moore. Alan Moore thinks verbally, not visually. So he can do his thumbnails and stuff. This is Alan Moore, who did Watchmen, Alan Moore, who did From Hell. He's probably one of the most verbose and well thought of comic authors today. I don't know when Batman and Daredevil crossed over. Oh, V for Vendetta, Chrome. Well done, you. But yeah, it's like all these notes are intended to be sort of like translated to a script and then they'll be handed over to a writer. His scripts for like a single page or for like a single issue of his comics were like 100 pages long. He's just so insanely verbose. Yeah, Killing Joke, same thing. It can make you feel overwhelmed, which means you have to be a very special kind of artist to work with guys like Alan Moore. Anyway, but for our work today, what I'm more interested in is stuff like this. Let me show you. This is another artist by the name of Matt Smith. And this is sort of like, I actually asked him if he could show me a little bit of his process. And he volunteered some of these images to me, rather. Let me make sure I have shared the right thing. Yeah, here we go. Make sure this is big enough. Okay, so this is, as you can tell, he loves doing his little Viking stories. He's got like a sword. Basically, this is he is as old as I am, and he still doodles little pirates and stuff like that. So if you ever find yourself, oh, I'm not a professional, I just drew a barbarian Smurf, you are doing the right thing. Okay, you keep drawing your barbarian Smurf. You keep drawing. Here's Toothless as a hot dude, stuff like that. Anyway, as you can see here, he basically has set up his whole page layout like this. Okay, so here's page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down to page 34. He has like the sequences laid out: Hunter 1, 2, 3, 4, stuff like that, where the guys meet somewhere in the middle, obviously. So we've got like a fight up here, we got a fight down here. Man Beast. You're always guaranteed a good time in a comic when there's like a Man Beast sequence. And then he starts figuring out what page 1 is going to look like. And he figures out that, oh yeah, so this is Bird's intro. So I guess chapter 1 is actually going to be the like a card, it'll say like chapter 1, it'll be like the title card. So page 2 is going to have these crows that are talking to each other. And he's already started. This is like the thumbnail layout that I want you guys to work on today. He literally has just very simple sketched out little page here, 1, 2, 3. He doesn't really have a lot of panels in this because it's all one image. The speech bubbles are what kind of break it up. Is these two ravens, right? Whoops. A lot of sketchiness, and he starts inking them in. He drops in some of the dialogue. 1, 2, 3. See, 1, 2, 3. It actually sticks very close. He's got this one little raven down here and a little breakout, little vignette. And this is what the finished page looks like. That would be page 1. Okay, but it had to start somewhere. It started here. All right, so what I want you guys to do is we're going to break you up into rooms, and I wanted you to take each one of your cards and figure out what the page for each card would look like. Now, it doesn't need to be finished. We'll give you, oh gosh, oh my God, it's 3:12. I'm so sorry.
How many people you want in a room, Caleb?
I would like to do no more than about 5.
Okay, how about 4?
Okay, so four people per room, and I want to give you guys a good half hour so you guys can show each other your cards, again, I just wanted you to do like between 1 and 5. And I wanted you to have a couple of minutes each so you can start, so you can read through your cards real fast. Well, not real fast, but, timely. And start putting in just start blocking in your thumbnail.
Okay.
Just figure out where you want to put your panels. Here, let me stop sharing this. Here's an example. Okay, sort of like figure out how big you want your panels to be, and then we can figure out what's going to go into them when you guys get back.
And they're going to be sharing. They're going to be talking about their
Yep.
stories
Where you-
and sharing with each other, and then getting feedback.
Yep.
Okay.
The idea is that you would share your cards with each other. And again, just like what did you say? 4 people per room?
It'll be 4, maybe 1 room with 5 people. I don't know.
That's fine. But I want you guys to take like a half hour now and just talk with each other. Figure out who's going to go first, second, third, or fourth, and sort out the sequence for each page. How big, is this, your first panel is going to be something very short and sweet, so they might be small. And then it'll lead into something bigger, and then you'll have some medium-sized ones. So, but the idea is to try and talk to each other, and if you have any questions, or, point them along give each other feedback, and that's basically it, just for like a half hour to give each other a good start. The idea is not to get frustrated, it's just to start. And we figured that a really good way to do it is just to begin.
No, that's fine, Jeff. If you have to go, that's fine. You can leave the breakout room. That's okay. Just if you are in a breakout room, you get into a breakout room, maybe you can share first and then you can leave when you're done. Okay, I'm going to create the breakout rooms. I've never done this before. Let's see if that happens.
I believe in you.
All right, so yeah, there's.
And Larissa and I can visit the breakout rooms and see how you guys are doing. And if you
I think that we can. Yeah. Okay. Caleb, you actually are in a room, and I'm going to be in a room, and Eden's going to be in a room. Okay. And I'm going to try and make it so that you guys know when it's going to be over, so that you'll know when I'm going to close them. Okay, here I go. And there we all go. Okay, who's in my room? Tanya and Kachuska. How are you guys doing? Are we supposed to share the sequence we have in mind via digital screen? Uh-oh. Where'd you go? Okay. Kachuska, are you here? No, not join. Move to. Okay, we did it. All right, was that good for everybody?
I really liked my breakout room. I got to learn about some awesome stories.
There's some really, really great stories coming up in here. What is happening? Why is, okay, is everybody here? 52. Where's Caleb?
I was
Caleb's in the
muted.
corner for me, at least.
There you are, Caleb. Okay, good.
This is really
Everybody's back.
cool, but I need to hear more from Manushi. Manushi, can you chat with me about more of your story? We'll take this over to the Discord because we have some time. Since we're running out of time here.
Okay, yeah,
I will make sure to shoot you a message so that we can continue this.
yeah. So let's just make sure everybody knows what they got to do and then for next
Yes.
week.
All right. So for next week, really quite simple. I've included a quick little JPEG of just 4 little comic pages like this. If you want to use something that's more organic, like if you have something in mind for doing what we discussed before with like a web comic that has an infinite sort of format, you can totally do that. But I do want to see some thumbnails by next week. All right, so take the pages that you've gotten so far. Some of you are very ambitious and are doing like literally like 9 to 10 different pages. And it is, I applaud you, but you only need to do like 4 or 5. All right. If you want to tear it up and show us what you're capable of, that's great. Do as many as you want. Mainly what I want to see is literally just like an impression of your environments, an idea of where your characters are standing, and maybe some like little space savers for where the dialogue bubbles will end up going. Literally just like the thumbnails that we saw earlier. That's it. Try, keep it simple. You don't have to put any detail. You don't have to put eyes. You don't have to put fingers, anything like that into your panels. We're literally just sort of blocking them out so we can figure out where we are going to put the detail. Not next time, but the time after. Okay.
I can share mine at this point.
Do
it.
Oh my gosh.
Do it.
Do it.
Okay, here we go.
Do it.
It's coming. Okay. All right. So this is for Blake Laser thumbs. All right. So I have mine laid out in like double spread. So you can see the even number is over here. Odd number is over here. If you're wondering what these things are up here, this is the time, how long it took me to do a page. So I was trying to track my time. Okay, so this is a double spread. This is a chapter heading. So this is like inside of the spaceship where the hovercrafts are. And so these are my thumbs. So this is Brody. He's messing around with the little remote. He's touching it. We see he gets excited, and look at how terrible that drawing is. Oh my Lord. But I'm seeing that he's standing.
Looks good to me.
Standing, and he's looking at it, and then he touches it, and there's a little whoop kind of a thing. And now he's messing with the numbers, and now his afro is growing because he's getting static electricity, and it's starting to go like crazy. As he touches it, he's coughing because it's kind of electrocuting him. And then we see him with his gigantic afro, which is as big as the dialogue bubble over here. And then we see his sister come in, and then here's the bump, is his sister reacting to what he's doing. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And then
that's when we find out that the bigger his hair gets, the more powerful he is.
No.
Yeah, I love the Static Shock just giving him a bigger fro. That's so great.
That's a giveaway.
Does it glow?
No, it doesn't glow.
Damn.
Okay.
These are top secret, you guys.
These are top secret.
Don't
No
tell
sharing.
anybody. Okay. So here with this one took me I did this back in September. Holy crap, that was a long time ago. It took me from 10:21 to 10:27 to do this page. It took me 6 whole minutes. All right, so here we're seeing Brody, and look at how beautiful his face is, and look at how gigantic his afro is. He's handing over the controller to his sister. He's saying something, she says something back, and then we have a reaction shot here, and then she's mad, and then he's looking at it, he's tapping it because he doesn't know what the heck she's doing, and she's angry. She looks at the screen. And we're seeing a lot of talking heads, but we're seeing that now we're looking at them from behind Brody. We see his reaction, and now we see him giving her this thing, and then we see her holding this remote. This goes to a flashback where she's holding this remote, and then here we go to a flashback of her younger Blake holding the remote at her science fair, and she is looking at her watch, her mom's late, and blah, 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 all this other stuff happens. And then we see her friends come, and there's some dialogue, and there's a potato for her science project, of course. And so you can see how ugly these are. But the idea is that I'm figuring out the placement of the characters, and I'm figuring out the shots, how close, how far I am. And you know, it's really simple. Like, this is supposed to be her and her science fair project area or the school. And I didn't do a whole lot of drawing. It's just her standing, and you can see a few things in the background. But basically, this is my thumbnail. It's just figuring out the placement of the characters, the expressions, and the gridding and things like that. So
Was this all done in Clip Studio?
I think this one was done in Photoshop. Yeah.
I really like that you timed your pages. That is a brilliant idea, Larissa. Like, oh my
Big
gosh.
galaxy brain move right there.
Yeah.
It's because I have somebody going like, hurry
Yeah.
up.
That's it.
And you're like sitting there crying.
That's it.
Real quick, a question for both of you. I just posted my thumbnails to also show how incredibly sloppy I am in my thumbnail process in the Discord. And then it made me think about page formatting and like the actual size. I guess it's not really a question more than it's a statement. If you just Google like comic, you know, page format, there's a lot of really great things that can give you bleed line or give you the bleed lines online, and you can just shrink those down and use those in whatever digital program that you're using if you want to go that route of, you know, being aware of your bleed lines.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, actually, I have a few. You want me?
Yeah,
I've
if you
already
could
purchased
drop
them,
those in the,
and I'll just drop them in the reference
that would be
folder.
great. Oh, and
Um,
Caleb,
yes.
make sure not to, if, I don't know if you can, but the dot keys for the lectures that
Oh, some people can't view those.
Right. I will save them as either PDFs or maybe a Google Slides or something like that, something that's more universal.
That'd be
yeah, PDF sounds great. Thank you.
Ginger had a quick question before we bolt.
Yes, just real quick. I don't know how important it is, but what should we
Probably not.
title what what should we title our
Thumbs.
submission?
Thumbs.
Okay, just thumbs.
Your name, then thumbs.
Just thumbs.
It'll be in
All
it'll
right.
be in week 3.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah, if you guys have any, you guys, I mean, Larissa's an amazing artist, and those drawings, those sketches were for her very rough. Remember, it doesn't have to be pretty; it just has to be understood. Like, for
Clear.
example, we've all seen this, right? This is Ryan
No.
Johnson's storyboards from Knives Out. Okay, this is literally a professional director who drew this because this is what he had in mind. All right, so yeah, it can be absolutely rough. It's Bridget is like, it's beautiful. Chrome is like, every day I think about this. Yes, you should, because it literally could be nothing else, but at the same time, it took him 30 seconds to draw. So yeah, look at her little arms. Look at them.
Just
Look
make
at those
sure
little
it's
arms.
understandable to you, because you're the
Yeah.
one who's going to be looking back at the thumbs, unless you are like Larissa and you have someone whipping you from behind. But in this class, not really. So just make sure that it's understandable to you, because I have gone so messy on some of my thumbnails before where I'm like, what did I draw there? But that's also where the script is helpful, or, you know, the label or the last assignment that we just turned in is helpful. Having those two in tandem can really inform you.
Very true. Taylor Blue, normally you are super duper sassy. Today I felt like I got less sass from you. Is everything okay?
We okay?
like, nothing's okay.
Everybody's us.
Nothing is fine. It's all garbage.
And I'm
All
gonna
right.
link the Discord just one last time in the chat, just in case nobody joined it last time. So please join that. Please post in there. I like to do the draw together, and you're welcome to do draw together with each other working on this. I think that would be awesome.
That would be good.
Yes.
I
let's
think
do that.
I should actually get my butt in there and do my actual work.
Yeah,
in
you
the-
were in there for a while working on your comic, and it was awesome, and a lot of people loved seeing it.
Okay, I'll be in
Yes.
there. I'll be in there tonight.
Yay.
I'm going. Okay. So if you guys can put your thumbs in the homework, if you need to make it a PDF, that's okay. What do you think, Caleb? Should they make them into a PDF or just put JPEGs?
JPEGs is fine too.
JPEGs is fine, whatever.
It depends on how you're going to do it. Some people are going to do it traditionally. Some people are going to do it on the computer. Just make it so it's all in like one page. That's it.
Oh, yeah. And then Raven, I'm sorry about the breakout rooms. That's my first time. So yeah, we'll make sure that everybody knows. I'll be more managing the time on that so everybody gets enough time.
Oh, did Raven get-
Sorry. Yes. Okay.
Well, Raven, if you felt like you got a little.
If anybody got shorted, let us know. And we can talk to you in the Discord.
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. Feel free to share whatever you want in the Discord. We've got we love to see it always.
Okay.
You guys have been fantastic.
This was good today.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. More fun next week. Nice job, everybody. Okay. Have a wonderful week. Have fun on those thumbs. We'll see you next week.
Bye,
right.
guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. You guys are great. See ya.